The entire neighborhood plunged into darkness. No Wi-Fi, no cable, no security systems, nothing. Chaos ignited as dozens of residents flooded the dusky streets of Willowbrook Estates. Children clutched lifeless tablets. Remote workers waved their phones in the air, desperate for a single bar. Elderly neighbors stumbled outside, confused and frightened, their medical alert systems flashing uselessly. And at the epicenter of it all stood Karen Mitchellauer-Evers, Mug HOA president, arms folded in triumph as she surveyed the wreckage of what used to be my tool shed. With her signature condescending smirk, she turned to face the growing crowd. "I've finally removed an unauthorized structure blighting our beautiful community," she announced, her voice brimming with self-importance. What she didn't realize was that she had just destroyed the one structure keeping the entire neighborhood connected. "My name is Tom Chen, unofficial tech guy of Willowbrook Estates. By day, I work IT for a Fortune 500 downtown, but here at home, I've been our digital lifeline. 6 months ago, a powerful storm wrecked the utility lines feeding internet to our development. While the telecom provider worked through red tape and delays, they needed a secure, climate-controlled location to house emergency equipment. My reinforced backyard shed, originally built for woodworking, became the perfect stopgap solution. Ventilation, dedicated power circuit, even a small AC unit. The previous HOA board had approved it. We had emails, meeting notes, and a handshake agreement with then President Jim Morrison before he moved to Florida. Everyone understood it was temporary, just until the permanent infrastructure was back online. Then Karen Mitchell arrived. She moved in 8 months ago and wasted no time launching a campaign for HOA leadership. A semi-retired realtor with a zeal for control, she promised lower dues, higher property values, and, her favorite phrase, a return to standards. She won by 3 votes. And then the rain began. She measured mailbox heights, issued warnings over lawns 0.3 inches too long, tried to outlaw kids' bikes from driveways, demanded trash bins vanish from view within 30 minutes of collection. But her vendetta against my shed became personal. It started with little notes under my wipers. Structure not within design guidelines. Color deviates from approved palette. Roofline inconsistent. I attended 3 HOA meetings, presenting documents, photos, and the agreement with the telecom company. Each time, Karen pursed her lips, dismissed the topic for further study, and moved on. Soon, I was hit with official violation notices. Fines followed, $50, then $100, then more. I paid them, hoping the repairs to the main network would finish soon. I even offered to repaint the shed, install decorative panels, anything to keep the tech running while easing her aesthetic rage. But Karen didn't want compromise. She wanted control. When I missed one meeting due to an IT incident at work, she pounced. Using her emergency authority, she hired Dave's Demolition, her cousin's sketchy business, to eliminate what she labeled a public hazard. On a Tuesday morning, she sent in the wrecking crew while I was downtown. The call came from my neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez. Her voice shook. "Tom, they're tearing down your shed. There's a bulldozer in your yard." I thought she was mistaken. She wasn't. I sped home, probably broke a dozen traffic laws, but I was too late. My hurricane-grade shed was rubble. Dave's crew had crushed routers, servers, battery backups, fiber optics $300,000 worth of infrastructure reduced to junk. And just like that, our neighborhood lost its digital heartbeat. Mrs. Rodriguez's alert pendant failed. The Johnson's security system began screeching. Garage doors froze. Thermostats defaulted. Doorbells died. Baby monitors went blank. Tech toppled like dominoes. One by one, stunned residents emerged. Jennifer Park, a financial analyst, ran out in mismatched clothes, waving her unresponsive laptop. The Hendersons' rental guests were locked inside their Airbnb. Mike Donnelly, an accountant, lost his cloud backups mid-filing. Even Tesla owners found their vehicles unable to update. Willowbrook Estates devolved into a digital wasteland. People gathered on lawns, phones raised like offerings to the sky, praying for signal. Karen emerged moments later, clutching a printed stack of HOA bylaws, color, coded with sticky notes. She stood in the middle of the chaos, lecturing about neighborhood standards, as if she couldn't fathom why people were upset. That's when I dropped the bomb. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, Karen Mitchell has just destroyed the temporary hub that was keeping our entire neighborhood online. Gasps followed. Eyes widened, heads turned. I explained that the shed had housed emergency infrastructure installed by Velocity Communications after the storm. Every bit of digital connectivity, from security systems to smart locks, ran through it. The crowd's confusion shifted to outrage. A mom shouted about missed virtual tutoring. A dad mentioned his garage door was now $1.40,000 brick. The neighborhood watch leader pointed out that our shared camera network, responsible for catching 3 porch pirates last month, was now dead. Karen's smirk vanished. She tried to defend herself, claimed there were no permits, claimed the equipment was illegal, claimed she did the community a favor. Then I pulled out my phone. I displayed every email. The permit from the city, the signed agreement with Velocity, proof that this had all been properly authorized. I added one last dagger. Even the HOA new security system Karen personally installed last month ran through that hub. The gate system. Offline, the cameras she boasted about, dead. Even the HOA own website and email servers, gone dark. That's when emergency responders began arriving. Mrs. Rodriguez's failed pendant had triggered a check-in. False alarms went off from failing smart detectors. Police took statements from residents who'd lost crucial video surveillance. The cul-de-sac turned into a scene from a tech disaster film. I started documenting everything: photos, damage reports, screenshots. Neighbors wrote statements. Several began calling lawyers. An emergency HOA meeting was scheduled that night. The clubhouse overflowed with angry residents. Karen sat flanked by her remaining allies, trying to look calm as person after person stood to speak. A nurse couldn't access telehealth files. A day trader cited thousands lost. A high school student sobbed about a missed scholarship exam. Then I took the floor. I laid it all out: agreements, permits, equipment receipts, the cost, $347,000 in destroyed hardware. I explained the critical role the shed played. Then I dropped the hammer. According to Title 18, Section 1362 of the U.S. Code, destroying communications infrastructure isn't just property damage. It's a federal crime. Karen turned ghost white. I announced that I'd already filed reports with the FCC, the State Utilities Commission, and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Karen stood, trying to bluster her way out, claiming she acted within her rights, that I was the real criminal. But then board member Janet Lau spoke up. I've reviewed the minutes. Janet said, there's no board. Approved emergency action, no vote. You used HOA funds without authorization. That's embezzlement. And you demolished legally permitted property. That's vandalism. Possibly a felony. Treasurer Robert Walsh confirmed. $15,000 paid to Dave's demolition. No bids, no vote. Secretary Marcus added, HOA rules require a hearing before any enforcement action. The crowd erupted. A petition circulated. Within minutes, over 200 neighbors had signed it, calling for Karen's removal. The board huddled briefly and held an emergency vote. Unanimous, Karen Mitchell was removed from the HOA board, but it didn't end there. Velocity Communications emergency manager, Sarah Kim, arrived with documentation. $347,000 in destroyed equipment, $100,000 in emergency restoration, no insurance coverage for intentional damage, full legal action pending, and yes, Karen Mitchell was named personally. As she protested, shouted, and accused everyone of conspiracy, 2 sheriff's deputies arrived. Not just for crowd control. They had formal complaints in hand. They needed her statement and photos. And they mentioned the district attorney's office had taken an interest, especially due to the emergency services impact. Over the following weeks, everything unfolded like a courtroom drama. I sued Karen and the HOA. Velocity sued for damages and breach of contract. Federal prosecutors opened a case. The FCC launched an investigation. Karen's cousin Dave, facing his own trouble for operating without permits, flipped quickly, providing a recorded call where Karen told him, "Tear it all down. I don't care what it is." In court, Karen's "I was just enforcing rules" defense crumbled. The emails, witnesses, and documents painted a clear picture of obsessive overreach and personal vendetta. The civil verdict was swift and severe. $347,000 in damages from Karen, $150,000 for restoration, $30,000 to affected residents, $50,000 from the HOA for oversight failure, but the criminal case sealed her fate. Federal prosecutors showed how Karen's actions disabled medical devices, disrupted emergency services, and endangered lives. The jury returned a guilty verdict in under 2 hours. Karen Mitchell was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison, 3 years probation, $200,000 in criminal fines. She left the courtroom in handcuffs, still ranting about conspiracies and injustice. As the doors closed behind her, a long-held tension finally lifted. Quiet murmurs turned into cheers. In the end, Willowbrook Estates learned a lesson in the balance between order and common sense, and that sometimes the greatest threat to a community isn't what's built in a backyard, but who's holding the clipboard.